All right, let me ask you something. Have you ever been pushed so far, so completely to the edge, that your only option left is to go nuclear? Well, today we are diving into the incredible story of Phyllis, a professional plumber who, after one final, jaw-dropping insult, decided she was going to dismantle her family's financial house of cards. And her weapon of choice? 2 years of meticulously kept receipts. You're not going to want to miss this.
So it all kicked off with this, a text message, not from a friend, not from an ex, but from her own mother. I mean, can you imagine? It just hits your phone like a court summons. No explanation, no warning, just a clean, cold cut. This comes just hours after leaving a family Thanksgiving dinner. The finality of it? It's just chilling. It's basically a declaration of war sent from the family matriarch herself. And this was Phyllis's reply. No emotion, no begging, no why are you doing this? Just a calm, calculated counterstrike aimed right at the family's biggest financial weak point, her sister. I mean, this single text sent the family group chat into an absolute meltdown. And right there, in that moment, the entire power dynamic shifted forever.
But look, this kind of explosion doesn't just come out of nowhere, right? The fuse for this particular bomb was actually lit just a few hours earlier, over a plate of turkey and gravy. This wasn't just about one bad day, this was the breaking point after years of disrespect. So, picture the scene. Phyllis is at Thanksgiving dinner. Her 5-year-old nephew, Theo, grabs her full plate, full of turkey and gravy. He smiles at her and then just flips it, dumps the entire thing right onto her lap. We're talking hot gravy soaking through her jeans, mashed potatoes just splattered everywhere, and the whole table just goes dead silent.
But the real insult? It wasn't the food. It was this reaction from her sister, Haley. She laughed. Not just a little chuckle, but an amused, dismissive laugh, followed by that classic line. And for Phyllis, that was it. Something just snapped, you know? It wasn't about the mess. It was about being treated like a complete joke by the very people she was financially propping up.
And okay, this is where the story gets absolutely brilliant. Because Phyllis wasn't just going to get mad. Oh no, she was going to get even, in the most organized, professional way you can imagine. For the past 2 years, she had been quietly building a case file on her sister. This wasn't some emotional reaction. This was a professional audit of years of lies. So, to really get this, you have to understand the two sisters. On one hand, you have Phyllis. She's the reliable one, the fixer. She runs her own plumbing business, and she's the one everyone calls when they're in a jam. And then you have Haley, who's busy online projecting this image of a super successful entrepreneur, all while secretly hitting up Phyllis for ass and grocery money.
Phyllis herself put it perfectly with this line. I mean, come on, that's just savage. It so perfectly captures the problem. Haley wasn't just bad with money. She was a master of public relations, spinning her failures into this story of ambition, all while someone else was footing the bill.
And let's look at the pattern Phyllis had been tracking. It was always some kind of emergency. Money for an electric bill, then a week later she's posting photos from a nightclub with bottle service. Money for car insurance, and right after she's on a weekend beach trip. The gap between Haley's supposed crises and her actual spending was just getting more and more ridiculous. This wasn't helping family anymore. This was funding a complete fantasy.
And here it is, Exhibit A, hard evidence. On the left, you've got Haley's public persona, the motivational #hustle culture post, and on the right, the cold, hard reality, a $500 emergency rent transfer from Phyllis just 2 days before. I mean, this is the kind of documentation that is just impossible to argue with.
And that was just a taste. Phyllis had a whole digital folder she called her insurance policy. It had everything. Co-signed loan agreements, screenshots of texts promising to pay her back that, spoiler, never happened, bank statements. She even had voice memos of Haley admitting to the debts. She had documented every single dollar and every single lie. So after that Thanksgiving dinner from hell and that brutal text exchange, Phyllis didn't waste time yelling. Nope, the very next morning, she got in her van and drove straight to the bank. This wasn't a tantrum. This was a calm, professional mission to surgically remove herself from her sister's financial train wreck. She executed this flawless 3-step plan. Step 1, she started the process to get her name off Haley's car loan, knowing full well Haley's credit was too wrecked to refinance on her own. Step 2, she paid off a nearly $7,000 credit card balance in full and closed the account on the spot. And Step 3, she revoked her guarantee on a business line of credit, which made the entire balance due in just 15 days. Each move was like a perfectly aimed torpedo.
So with all the financial bombs set and ticking, it was time for the final confrontation. Phyllis drove over to her parents' house to present her case directly to the people who had enabled her sister's behavior for years. This was it.
So the scene was incredibly tense. Her family is demanding an explanation, and Haley immediately tries to play it off, calling Phyllis petty and saying something like, "You wouldn't get it, you just fixed toilets." It was an absolutely massive miscalculation on her part.
So Phyllis just looked at Haley and asked a very simple question. "How much do you think you owe me?" Of course, Haley had no idea. And then Phyllis topped this number, $39,500, and the entire room went completely silent.
And she had the proof. She showed them the itemized breakdown. This wasn't just some vague accusation she pulled out of thin air, it was an invoice. Every dollar was accounted for. You can see the car payments she covered, all the so-called emergency transfers, the maxed-out credit lines. The sheer scale of the deception was just right there in black and white, and it was undeniable.
And then Phyllis delivered this absolutely devastating line. It perfectly summarized years and years of this financial parasitism. This was never a business partnership. It was one sister building a life on the credit and the cash of another, and it was all about to come crashing down.
Oh, but it got so much worse. Phyllis didn't just expose the family debt. She exposed the entire lie of Haley's business. That fancy boutique office? Yeah, it was a $29 a month virtual mailbox. The business license? Delinquent, with penalties. She even had unpaid court judgments and, get this, outstanding parking tickets with warrants attached. Haley wasn't a struggling entrepreneur. She was a complete fraud.
So with the truth finally out and all those financial safety nets just gone, the consequences for Haley were swift and they were severe. But for Phyllis, this was the beginning of a whole new life.
The contrast in what happened next is just, wow. Haley's car got repossessed. Her credit score absolutely tanked. Her sham business was dissolved by the state. Her entire carefully crafted image was just destroyed. Meanwhile, Phyllis became debt-free. Her credit score shot up, and she finally qualified to buy her own house.
This simple chart shows you the tangible victory. By cutting off that financial deadweight, Phyllis's own credit score jumped 40 points in just 3 months. This was never just about emotional revenge. This was about financial liberation. Her plan worked perfectly.
And here is the ultimate triumph. Phyllis brought her own place, with a garage for her work van and her tools. After years of funding her sister's fake empire, she finally got to build something real, something that was entirely her own, on her own terms.
Which leaves us with one final question to chew on. Is the best revenge simply living a good life, free from all that toxicity? Or, as Phyllis proved, is it about living well because you were smart enough to keep the receipts? Something to think about.